Welcome back to another episode of the Stark Effect podcast hosted by yours truly, Khalif Starks. This is my TikTok version of my show, okay? So you can find me on YouTube where I have past episodes. This is season 3, by the way. I'm just moving it here to TikTok because I got tired of editing all these long form videos that a lot of people were not watching. So I popped up here. So today I want to just talk about something that I should have talked about and covered 7 weeks ago, February 26th, February 28th to be exact. I should have covered that when all of this began. So this Iran war, right? This U.S. Israeli war against Iran. I really wanted to just take a stab at this. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I have compiled multiple sources. The sources I have used are BBC, Al Jazeera. My intention is to not, let me not say my intention. I am not fabricating news, right? But as someone who is covering such sensitive topics, I am mindful that I may get it wrong, but I want to just establish this here. My goal is to just be truthful and tell the truth, right, with this particular report, because it's a heavy topic. It's something that's literally affecting everyone. People are dying because of this war that is currently happening right now, okay? So this is a very, very serious matter, and I do take it seriously. So if I get it wrong, I'm open to being corrected. Just be respectful, all right? Also, too, I am a journalist. I do have a degree in this, so I'm not up here just fabricating stuff and talking shit out of my ass and making shit up. But, I have to say that. And honestly, I apologize for cussing, but I feel like I have to do that because, everyone on social media, they fight a lot about these topics, right? And my goal is to not fight. My goal is just to get to the facts, share my opinions about it if I have any opinions on it, and move on. Okay? So once again, if you're curious about my sources that I'm using Al Jazeera News. I'm using this particular source because I wanted to use outlets that were not influenced by, the Western corporate media, okay? So mainstream media, essentially, because mainstream media cannot always be trusted, especially in today's age with who is in office, all right? So, also BBC is another trusted source of mine, right along with Reuters and a few others. So, I just want to do a brief summary of everything. This is a summary that I have compiled and put together to help us get through it. And this is an update on the U.S. Israel war against Iran as of today, Tuesday, April 4th, 2026. If you watch this in the future, okay, things that I say today may not apply to the future because this is an ongoing story. I just have to say this, okay? Because people comment and they don't actually watch and pay attention. So, as of today, April 14, 2026, the Middle East is experiencing intense multi-front military conflict now in its 7th week. This all began on February 28th of this year. And, this is following the start of the U.S. Israel war against Iran, which once again started back on February 28th. Now, recently there has been a fragile ceasefire orchestrated by the U.S. and Iran, which, that paused major strikes early in April, but active fighting continues on multiple fronts, particularly in Lebanon and in Gaza. And a U.S. naval blockade of Iran is currently in effect, and that was just announced yesterday, Monday, April 13th, by who is in office. The reason why I keep saying who is in office because, child, this AI, if you talk against that man, if you talk against Mr. Trump, okay, the AI will track us and I won't get the views that I need. So the blockade was activated, yesterday on Monday, April 13th. The United States began a naval blockade of all Iranian ports to stop Iranian commerce in the Strait of Hormuz and pressure Tehran to negotiate following the failure of peace talks in Islamabad, okay? Let's see. The blockade has significantly cut off supplies, with tanker traffic falling from 20 million barrels per day to under 4 million. However, tracking data shows that some ships, including those with Iranian links, continue to navigate the strait, indicating a complex enforcement environment. Despite the escalation, the U.S. has indicated that Iran is still interested in working a deal. with a potential second round of negotiations possible by April 16th, which is this Thursday. Now, this particular deal situation has a lot of fellow journalists and commentators and critics and the public questioning if this deal is actually really going to work out, because in layman's terms, shit is hitting the fan, okay? And it's another example, all of this is another example of you know who creating a mess and then coming back and trying to fix it, essentially, is what's happening here. So let's talk a little bit about the regional impact of what's going on. So now I say Iranian, but I know some people say Iranian. I say Iranian, so you know y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on that as well. I say Iranian. I'm not open to being corrected, just as long as you're nice to me. So Iranian retaliatory strikes on Gulf states and critical energy infrastructure have caused substantial damage, including a hit to Qatar's Pearl GTL facility, which reduced its energy exports by 17%. And that is according to Al Jazeera. All right. So that whole little rundown that I gave you, that was a breakdown of the Iran-U.S. conflict, and also the Strait of Hormuz blockade. Israel has continued its fierce assault in southern Lebanon, aiming to establish a security zone that extends 8 to 10 kilometers into Lebanese territory. There have been reports of high casualties in regards to this 6-week conflict so far. Now, in Lebanon, literally over 2,000 people have been killed, and also over 1 million people have been displaced. Israeli troops are currently attempting to seize the strategically vital town of Bint Jabil, with reports of 10 soldiers injured in heavy close quarter fighting as of today, April 14th. In regards to diplomatic talks, direct negotiations between Israeli and Lebanese envoys are scheduled in Washington, D.C. as of today, Tuesday, April 14th. Brokered by the U.S. Israel demands of the complete disarmament of Hezbollah as part of any lasting agreement. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Gaza Strip situation. So, following 2 years of conflict, Gaza is reported to be in a largely unlivable state. So, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse for Palestinians. So an Israeli strike on a police vehicle in Gaza City on April 14th killed at least 4 people, including a child, which highlights the frailty of the truce. Therefore, this is technically a ceasefire violation, okay? It's an example of the ceasefire violations with this happening. Also, too, with that Israeli airstrike that occurred as of today, as of April 14th, there have also been reports of over 750 Palestinians who have been killed since this truce has supposedly taken effect, all right? So a lot of people have passed away, essentially. Now, Israeli troops maintain control over a large depopulated buffer zone that constitutes more than half of the Gaza Strip. Now, let's talk a little bit about the global and regional impact of this particular situation, right? You see how many arms this U.S. Israeli war on Iran is causing. It's so many arms of this particular conflict. It's like everyone is literally being affected by this. It's so insane. So the economic downturn of this, reported by the IMF, which stands for the International Monetary Fund. The IMF has warned of a deep global economic downturn if the war persists, with oil prices remaining high due to the Strait of Hormuz crisis. Now, a little bit about Houthis and militias. So the Houthi threat in Yemen continues to cast its shadow on maritime security in the Red Sea, while Iran-backed militias continue to target U.S. and Israeli interests. All right, so once again, if I mispronounced any of that, forgive me, but that's the report there. Once again, this war started February 28th. Now, the estimated financial losses in Iran so far is $270 billion. The estimated deaths so far is over 3,000 deaths in Iran has occurred, 2,000 plus in Lebanon, not that many in Israel. I see here, according to reports, they're saying that there's pretty low numbers of deaths in Israel, and also there's not that many deaths of U.S. service members, so people who are literally being sent, U.S. soldiers who are being sent to support Israel in this particular situation. There are low amounts so far. So far, it hasn't been that many people who have died. Now, what I'm seeing here, they're saying that it's been a little bit over 13 deaths so far that have been reported. But let me just fact check that really quickly because I want to make sure that, let's see here. Let's see. I just want to fact check that really quickly, you guys. Okay, so as of April, it's literally only 13 people that have been reported as far as U.S. Soldiers who have been killed, U.S. service members, and also 23 Israeli service members. So there you have it. Drop down below and let me all know what you think about this. Thank you so much for watching my Jumbles report on this particular topic. What I think about it is I think that we are in complete ruins. It is a hot mess. I feel like something needs to be done. There are so many legs to this particular situation. Now, what I do know is that our chief executive in office, you know, we have to be careful when we say this man's name. I'm seeing him literally post AI generated videos of him being Jesus and God, right? And I'm seeing him call out Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and all of these different MAGA individuals who gained their careers off of supporting him. Now they're turning their backs on him and he's focused on this inward fighting and calling them out. Meanwhile, he needs to be focused on what's happening overseas, and he's saying how he's too busy to respond to them and so forth. So also Melania Trump has spoken out about how she literally has no ties to the Epstein situation. So what I'm seeing is that this is them constantly, this administration constantly throwing out various distractions to distract us from what's happening overseas in the Middle East. You know, he's literally running social media every day. He's a hot mess. There's a lot going on. So there are a lot of legs of this situation, but I have to go to work. Now, we could probably do a further breakdown later, but there you have it. Drop down below and let me all know what you think about this particular topic. And thank you so much for supporting the Stark Effect podcast. There you have it. I'm Khalif Starks, your host. Have a great Tuesday.